really appreciate you for joining us. You're in the right place. You're in the Technology Source Virtual Roundtable. Today we have special guests from Vivial on with us, who I will introduce in just a moment. While we're waiting for people to join and say hello and greet us, we will do a little housekeeping. So we do have everyone on mute to keep out the sounds of barking dogs and kids playing the piano or whatever else is going on around the office space in your homes. And thank you for joining us. We know how important education is, and especially this important topic on, growing your business, growing your influence, improving your online, space and your digital marketing. So it's a great topic. And if you're interested in that, you're in the right place. If you have clients that are interested in that, that's also, you're in the right place. If you have a small business, a mid-sized business, any size organization, I think we can help all different types of organizations. And I'm excited to introduce to you guys Vivial today. We do have a prize that Vivial is giving away. Did one of you ladies want to tell us what this prize is, or
yes,
for you, Ryan, possibly?
It's
okay.
a solo stove. So it's one of those very eco-friendly, no mess kind of fire pits.
Cool. Well, as an outdoorsy person, I love that. So that is super fun. It's a pretty cool giveaway, you guys. So do pay attention and ask good questions, because that's how you win. So if you ask a question, I will put your name in this basket. And then at the end, we'll just do a drawing and the winner will walk away with one of those cool stoves. We will ship it to your house. So if you are one of the lucky winners, please do email me at the end your best mailing address so that the team at Vivial can get this sent out to you. All right, well, that's all the intro I have. I just want to now do the service of offering, or the honor of offering to introduce Vivial today. So Vivial, it has been providing marketing products and services to businesses across the United States for over 100 years. That's pretty impressive. They have a mission to help you grow your business, whether that's to stay with an easy to use, affordable online marketing technology, or custom marketing campaigns that they create and implement and monitor for you. This includes everything from cutting edge digital solutions such as websites, videos, and search engine optimization to paid search media strategies on Google and Facebook. So really cool offering, really long-standing company. And I have had the pleasure of working with Vivial with several customers and seen some really good results. So excited to have you guys on today. On with us, we have some really awesome representatives from Vivial. We have the Senior Director of Training, Miss Erin. Hi. And then we have Laura, a regional manager, and Ryan, a regional manager, both with Vivial. So thank you for joining us. So I'll ask you, Erin, where are you calling in from today? We heard people from all over the globe here.
I am from St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I'm based.
Okay. And are you in the corporate office today?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a few people that are coming in, and I've got a nice little office here, so I decided to come in today.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. And then Laura, what about you? Where are you calling in from today?
I am in California, in the Bay Area.
Okay, awesome. And what about you, Ryan?
I'm also about 20 minutes south of St. Louis. So. Okay,
awesome. Well, so today we have a lot of stuff to cover, and I know you guys put together a really informative presentation. I love that it's very giving and gives the audience lots of really good statistics and details. And so everyone's going to walk away with more knowledge, which is what I really appreciate. They'll learn a little bit about Vivial, but they'll also learn about things that they might want to take away today and implement right away. So let's get started with that, because I know that's what our audience is here for. And again, audience, please do ask questions. I see all of you on there, and we're so glad you're here. All right, we can see your screen. It looks great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you for that warm welcome, Sonia. We're excited to chat with you all today. And as she mentioned, please do use the chat. I do like to make these as interactive as possible. There's going to be some good information here that I want to make sure you get any questions answered as we go. So let's jump in. I think our main topic today is we want to help you set the foundation for your business. So we're going to share 4 tactics that set up your business for success. And again, raise your hand or ask in the chat, and we will be monitoring that as we go. All right, so we're first going to lay that foundation. It's really imperative that we understand as businesses, what should we be doing to make sure we're connecting with the right consumer? And then, of course, we'll get into those 4 tactics. And at the end, we'll reserve some time for some open Q&A. So I want us to think about, as we go through these foundational elements and tactics, I want us to think about from the consumer perspective. So as consumers, we research a lot. We shop in a variety of ways. Most of us are starting that search on Google. In fact, 92% of us probably start that search, on that major search engine. But we also may go to Facebook. We might ask for recommendations there. We may use our mobile phone. We may visit a website on our mobile device or even read reviews, all of which are really important in helping us make a decision. But the bottom line is, for business owners, if you're not there, if you're not online, on social or mobile, where consumers are actively shopping, it's really challenging for you to grow that business or increase revenue. And it's important today that we're meeting the consumers where they're actively shopping and whenever they're doing that. We also know that 46% of all searches on Google have local intent. So it's important, if you are a local business, if you've got a storefront that you want consumers to visit, that you showcase that and you're available when they're looking. We also know that consumers engage with a brand on social. They typically spend 40% more. So again, if you're not active on social, that might be a good place to start. It's free. It doesn't cost anything as a business to put a page up and to post. It is time, can be time consuming, but it could be time well spent based on some of these stats that we're seeing. So before we begin, we really want to set the right foundation. Okay. So again, before you start thinking about, what should you invest in, or how do you do it, or how much time do I need to spend, there's some foundational elements that we want to talk through. Again, I'd stress the importance that it's important for you to meet your customer where they are. So one of the first questions we always like to ask is, who do you want to attract? Do you have a very specific audience that you want your business to be in front of? Or maybe it's a new audience that you want to try to target. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to visit your website? Do you want them to engage with you on social? Do you want them to fill out a form on your website, or maybe call you directly? So you want to think about, what actions do you want those consumers to take? Where do you want them to go? Do you want them to visit your website? Is it a really robust, content-rich website that you want them to find the right information? Or would you rather have them find you on social or find you on mobile? When do you want them to do this? I think I'd argue probably most businesses would say anytime, anytime that they're ready to make a decision. And that's probably the right answer. But sometimes, there's some seasonality that might impact your business. So is that a factor for you? And then lastly, how much are you willing to invest to reach out to these consumers and to connect with them, or make it easy to engage with them? And that's really something that, again, we want to ask all of our business owners as we're doing consultations. What are you willing to invest to do this? And what do we need to do to make sure that you see a nice return? So let's talk about the tactics. First one, it's imperative that we have a responsive website that answers customers' needs. So it used to be 10, 15 years ago, even 5 years ago, right? Consumer behaviors have changed pretty dramatically over the last few years. And it used to be sufficient for us to just have a website as a business. But as time changed, we started using our mobile devices more. Google noticed that. So they made some significant changes in how they rank businesses on their search engine by their website and if it's responsive enough. What we mean by responsive is if whatever device the consumer's using to find your business or to find your website, you need to be able to, that website needs to be able to respond to each device. So whether it's on a desktop or it's on a tablet or on your mobile phone, you know, there's a variety of ways that we're looking as consumers. We don't want it to be a negative experience. So if I have to zoom in, if I'm using my phone to look at your website, if I've got to zoom in, that's not the most positive experience for me. If I can't click to call, I don't want to have to copy the number. I mean, unfortunately, we're getting a little bit lazier as consumers because there's so much information out there. If I can't click to call, I can't connect with you really easily, right? So there's important things that you want to think about is, you know, are you engaging with the right audience? Are you answering the need with the content? Are you motivating the customers to take action? And then a couple other helpful tips that aren't necessarily listed here, but security is a big deal today. So that's been a newer change here in the last couple of years. But if you're collecting information from a consumer, so if you have a form fill, you're asking for their email or phone number, it's important that, and it's important to Google, that your site is secure. Okay, so you've got that SSL certificate, or your URL has an S after the HTTP. That helps to showcase to Google that you're taking measures to not allow, you know, the customer's information to get pulled out from, you know, any negative reasons. The other thing I would think about is the page load speed. So again, back to how impatient we are as consumers. I'm sure you guys can agree, you've been on a website before and it might take a while to load. I probably don't last more than 3 or 4 seconds before I jump off and I find somewhere else to go. And that's really pretty normal. So take a look at it. You know, if you guys are, I'm sure you have your mobile phones by you now, look at your website on your mobile device and what kind of experience would that consumer have if they're doing the same. Okay, next tactic is to ensure that your online listings are accurate and consistent. So what we mean by listings is some basic business information for you. So name, address, phone number, website, hours of operation are all basic business information that, again, allows the consumer to connect with you easily as long as they can find it. But there's also hundreds of places that you can be online. So it can be overwhelming and time consuming for you to try to manage these. So I do want to call out a few main ones that you can do, again, for free. And Google My Business is one of them. So, and actually I'll stop and say that 10 of our lucky participants today are actually going to receive a free analysis from us. And this is something that we'll dig in and look at for you. So reach out to your advisor who brought you to the call today, and we'll be able to review that with you soon. But Google My Business. So again, if you've got your phone with you, this is going to be something I would ask you to do with us. Google your business name, okay? As long as you've got, and if you can see in this screenshot with the cell phone here, that's called a Google My Business. And what you'll see there is your hours of operation. You should have your website. You should have some updated photos, maybe even some updated content. This is a really important Google property. I always like to relate Google to like the game of Monopoly. So if you are listed as a business in all the places that Google owns, and this is one of them, it's more likely that they have the chance of pulling you up to that first page. We also see that a typical business receives 59 actions from their GMB profile every month. So if I'm Googling you as a business, that means I've gotten a referral. And I know a lot of you guys have, I'm sure, a lot of referrals, and I'm sure that's an important part of your revenue coming in. So think about what that experience is. If I get your business name from a friend or a family member, my first step is to Google you, and this is one of the first things that I should see. But I also want to make sure that I get all the information I'm looking for. And I also want to be able to look at reviews. This is a hot spot for reviews to land. So if you've got a lot of happy customers, please ask them, to write you a review and leave it on your Google My Business. It really has an impact on how you rank. Okay. Okay, third tactic is to create social profiles, but more importantly, engage with those profiles and the audience that's out there. So this is, again, a little bit newer of a tactic because things have changed dramatically over the last year. I'm sure you guys can attest to the changes that your business went through during COVID, but consumer behaviors changed pretty dramatically. I mean, let's face it, we had nothing else to do. We were nose deep in our phones or on our computers. And the only way that we can engage with family and friends was on social. And we could do it very easily, right? I'm sure you guys have seen people leave recommendation reviews or recommendation requests there, or what are you guys doing this weekend? Is there any place that's open? There's a lot of conversation that's happening. And 7 out of 10 consumers that have had a good social media experience with a brand are likely to recommend it to others. So think about how quickly that can spread for your business. If you're active and if you've got a profile that you're actively posting on, there's a lot of ways that you can be active out there. And specifically, you can post organically. So just posting on your business page. You can also promote some of those posts. You can put a little money behind some of those posts and reach a different audience. And then really to elevate your game would be to run an ad campaign. Paid media strategy.
Yeah. We have a really quick question from the audience, and just remember, audience, thank you for those questions. So this one's from Jules, and Jules B as in Bravo. And the question is, what about reaching clients that are just not on social media? Is there another strategy? So I'm guessing that will probably lead into some of your other, and I'm always amazed when I meet somebody who's not on social, but there's a lot of people and I'm meeting them more and more. So I would love to answer that question. Good one. And I'm putting your name in the basket. You're the first and only there. So good chances so far, Gilles.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that question. And it's a great question. So we do hear from businesses that they don't think that their business is a good fit for social. And I'm not going to tell you that every single business, every different industry is a good fit, but it's becoming harder to not be a fit because of how active we are. But to your question, there's a lot of other ways. Being active on social really does have an impact on your SEO, so on your search engine optimization. I think all of us as business owners want to be as pronounced on Google, that we want to be as relevant as possible. We just want to be available, right? So if someone searches for your products and services, you want to make sure that Google notices that enough to choose you to be on page 1. So that really comes back to SEO efforts, making sure your website is answering those questions. There's a lot of other reviews are a big piece of that as well. And then ultimately, you also have the option to pay to be on the first page of Google and those paid ads at the very top. So lots of different ways that you can be there outside of social. And I would always tell you, and I think Laura and Ryan say this a lot, is there's a lot of different places that consumers can shop. Okay, so we on average look at 10 different resources as a consumer before we make a purchase. So it's not about putting all of your eggs in one basket, just being one place or the other. It's important that you spread that out enough to reach as many people as possible. Very good. Okay. The other thing I would touch on here is there's some really sophisticated targeting measures that happen on social. So if you look at your Facebook feed now, if you've got Facebook or even Instagram, I would bet the first ad that you see is pretty relevant to previous search behaviors or things that you might have been looking for. It could even be conversations that you had. So I'm actually looking at planning a trip for next year. And I'm of course seeing, because I've done searches on Google, I've done searches on TripAdvisor or Expedia. So now on my Facebook, I'm seeing resorts that are serving ads to me because they are watching what I'm doing. They're seeing how relevant their resort might be to my search habits. So as a business, you really have the opportunity on social to target the right audience with the right message at the right time. So I really want you to think about that. It's a great way to expand past who already knows you, the people that already know you, and reach new customers. Any other questions before I move forward? Okay.
No, they're coming in, but we'll batch them a little bit.
Okay, perfect. So this will piggyback on the first question that we received, because content really is one of the biggest and best ways to showcase to Google that you belong on page one. Okay, there's an old adage that we've said back in like the print advertising days, if you guys can remember the phone book, that content is king. Okay, and the reason we say that is because we as consumers are researching a lot, we're reading, we're watching videos, we're looking at reviews, we're looking at websites before we make a decision. And Google notices that. You know, at the end of the day, the only thing Google really cares about is the user experience. So they want to serve up the most relevant and trustworthy information to that user of Google. And really that comes back to consumers, right? So as a business, in order for you to be showcased as the industry expert or a thought leader, a trusted advisor in the space, is to publish and write unique content. And the key word there is unique. You don't want to steal it from somebody else, right? Google's too smart for that. But writing the unique and fresh content on a regular basis really can amplify the rankings that you see on Google. And then more importantly too, you want to be able to distribute that in a lot of different ways. It's not, we don't want to just put it on your website because that may not be the place that consumers go. You want to put it on social, you want to maybe email it out to customers that you already have. You want to put it out to Google or to YouTube if it's a video. You know, there's a lot of different variety of content, but it's important that you distribute that in as many places as possible. Okay. It also helps to engage the consumer. The consumer has a higher trust for a business when they can read about it or they can watch a video, especially videos. We know how active we are with watching videos. So some really unique and creative ways to showcase all of what you do and who you're about. Okay. Any questions so far on that? No? Okay. I'm sure we'll have more at the end. So I know that, you know, those are really, you know, the four foundational elements that we consider to be very important when starting a digital marketing campaign, or maybe you've already got one going that you might be struggling with. But there are some things to know. You know, there's sometimes where you might be needing to partner with somebody because you don't have the time to do it. Time is our most valuable commodity, and you can't get it back. And I know as business owners, you should be focused on running your business versus running a bunch of marketing campaigns. As important as they are, you're probably, you know, more focused on talking with clients and doing the books and all of that. So if that is an issue, or if that's a concern or a challenge, then that might be a reason to partner with somebody. Maybe you don't have the desire. I know my husband is a business owner. He's a contractor. This is the last thing on his list of things that he wants to do, you know, and that's why we have to handle it for him. And when I try to talk with him about, here's what we're seeing and here's the things that, you know, you're getting from it, he's like, that's great. You know, my phone's ringing and I've got, my books are full. So I'm pretty happy, you know, so that's definitely, again, common, right, for business owners to not have the desire to learn and to keep up with the ever-changing landscape. The knowledge, again, I just mentioned ever-changing landscape. And I'll tell you that, you know, we go through a lot of training in our organization because things change so quickly and dramatically. You know, we have some insights because we've got some premier partnerships with Google and Facebook that help us to be ahead of the curve. But it's an ever-changing environment that we have to stay abreast of. And then lastly, do you have the resources? So some of us might be, 1, 2 people shops. We might have 50 people that work for us. Do you have a marketing expert? And when we say that, we want it to be well-rounded. Again, we don't want to see all of your eggs in one basket, to really, again, maximize the investment that you put into it. But if one of these, a couple of these are missing, that may be when you start looking at partnering with someone to help eliminate some of those challenges that you're facing. So when deciding to partner or who to partner with, if you feel you need it, it is important that you do some research, right? Of course. So I'd urge you to partner with somebody that has a comprehensive solution set, but that also puts together more customized solutions for you. It's not a one size fits all. We work with dentists that, not every dentist office has the same goal, so they don't have the same program. So it's important that you feel that customization, but that are really meeting the goals that you have for the business. We like to bucket all of our solutions into really 3 main ones to keep it simple: online, social, and mobile. So that can be anything from building a website for a business to search engine optimization, directory optimization like we talked about today, or maybe it's paid media on either Google or Facebook. It's creating content or videos for businesses. And then on social, it's really anything that you could imagine. Everything from running the Facebook pages for the business to running paid ads, running contests and events there, or even reputation management. It's a huge time saver for businesses to make sure that their reputation is monitored and managed appropriately. One thing I didn't touch on before, but when it comes to social and really anywhere, optimization or ranking on Google, it's very important that those reviews are properly managed. Laura said something earlier today. I think it's a great analogy. If you're not responding to reviews, from your consumers, it's like going into a restaurant, telling the chef that their filet mignon was fantastic, it was the best you ever had, and then turning around and walking away. There was no response. So again, it can be time consuming, but it's important that you're paying attention to them, because it's a huge factor when Google decides who to rank and how high to rank. But more importantly, it's what consumers are looking at to make a decision on who to do business with. And then finally, on mobile, websites, as we mentioned, are important to be mobile friendly. There's also display ads. So if you've ever shopped on Amazon, as I'm sure most of us have, you've probably been followed by some ads if you've left anything in your cart. I know I just saw one the other day, and it's urging me to come back and visit. So there's some retargeting efforts. Trust me, I won't have any issues. I will go back and buy, I'm sure. But it's retargeting me because they saw that I was interested. So again, another really great way for you to, as a business, target the right type of consumer, but also stay in front of them, and keep customers loyal. And then finally, we have text messaging services as well. So becoming much more intimate with your customers, sending them very unique messages or reminders or specials that are running, at your organization. And then one thing I would also call out is very important. There's a lot of other marketing companies out there, as I'm sure you're aware, but ultimately, having this comprehensive solution set, it's also important that you have the transparency in how these things are working, what results you're seeing, as well as support. So those are 2 differentiators that we have here at Vivial. We want to make sure that you're very aware of everything that we're doing, but more importantly, the results that you're seeing. And then we also we entered this in as a partnership. So we want to make sure that you feel that you're working with us, that we're working with you, and that we're just an extension of your team. And with that, we do have a 4.5 customer satisfaction rating based on a 5-point scale. So something that we definitely consider to be very important.
Yeah, we do have quite a good batch of questions coming in. So if you don't mind, we can kind of pause and take some of those. And I think some of them will kind of segue right into what you're talking about anyway, Erin. This one's from Matt Miller. Great question, Matt. He wants to know if your service or product gathers into one area a roll-up of all the different social media search tools where the business can reply, view, and update, so it can be done by one individual or a small team in an organization. And I know the answer to that, but I will let you guys respond, because I love that part of Vivial. So it's almost like we asked this person to ask that question, but I swear it came from our audience. So thank you, Matt.
Not a canned question. Yeah. No. Yeah. So to answer your question in short, yes, we have a couple different ways to help with review management. One of which is a tool that aggregates any review or comment that's made online, anywhere online. It gets pulled into a platform that we've created, and then it does allow you from that platform to respond. So you're not having to go out to the 3 or 4 different places that review might be, or that comment might be. You can then, respond from there. And then we also have in our full social media program, our full social media management, we would actually manage those reviews on your behalf. So if that's not something that you want a team member to do, then our full program would allow you to basically rely on us to respond. And we always consult with you. We want to make sure that you're aware of the review coming in and check with you before we respond. But we typically say response time should be between 24 and 48 hours. And that is our cadence as well. Great question.
Okay, great. I have the next question from Monica G, and she says she'd like to know how you deal with upper management members who don't necessarily believe in social media and Google advertising. Great question, Monica.
Yeah, great question. I'd be lying to you if I said we don't hear it. We don't hear it as often. Okay, I've been here for 11 years, and we used to hear it a lot back then. We don't hear it as often. But I think it really starts with a conversation. I think it's important that if we can start the conversation with them and talk about it as a collective effort. We're not here to, take anybody's job. If you've got somebody in-house that is doing some of this, that's not our role. Our role is, again, a partnership. So I think it's important that they understand what consumers are doing today and how they're actively shopping, what they're doing as research. And we have a lot of tools that can help showcase that to them. And a lot of times we'll just use Google. We go out to Google and say, let's search for you by name, because that's most important if you're getting referrals. And then let's search by your products and services. And are you happy with what's showing up? Is this the story that you want consumers to see? And that sometimes, or I would say probably a lot of times, really opens the door a little bit more to start that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of times you go backwards. You think you've got it all figured out, and then, you're working with an upper management person who was on board, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, why are we spending money on this? It's like, well, how else would you find customers? Like, this is how it's done. Yeah, occasionally one just like falls into your, front door, but online, so I understand your pain there. I've had some, of my own experiences trying to explain these types of important tools to, members of my team who maybe just didn't find them as important. So great question. Next question. This is from John V, as in Victor. His question is about his business page on Facebook and LinkedIn, and he wants to know if it would be helpful to have friends, in quotes, and groups that he belongs to from many years that he's been a part of, see his posts to help improve his standing. Even though those friends may not be his target market, is that a helpful way to build up your business sites on those pages, on those platforms? Great question, John.
Yeah. So yes, it is important that you're posting regularly, but here's some of the changes that have happened recently. And I would say recently within the last couple of years, because we as consumers are looking for the most relevant information, your friends or people that are following you on social may not even really be seeing that content if it's not relevant to their search behaviors. So that's really where paid media can come into play, where you can start reaching out. Unfortunately, it's not going to do the trick if you just post organically on Facebook or LinkedIn. Some of your friends might still see it, but pay attention to what the metrics say. So you should be able to see on those posts how many likes you're getting, or if there's any comments. That'll give you, some indication on how many people might be seeing it. Now, granted, not everybody is going to do some sort of action to it, so more people could see it versus that are interacting or engaging with the post. But if you really are looking for an extended reach, paid media would be a great way to do that. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. Facebook, LinkedIn is going to be a little heavier of an investment than Facebook is. I mean, you could throw $10, $50, $100 behind a post on Facebook and reach thousands of people. So that would probably be my suggestion on, next steps. Because some of your friends, like I said, or followers may not be seeing the content you're posting anyway.
Yeah, the algorithms are pretty tricky.
Yep.
All right, John B, as in Bravo, great question here. He says, online, social, or mobile, if forced to choose just one, which one will make the greatest impact?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, of course, my answer is going to be all of them, right? But I think my follow-up question to that would be what type of business are you? What is the industry and who is your target market? Based on those answers, then I could probably answer better between online and social.
Okay, great. Next question, are there commonly accepted ethics rules used to manage reputation? From Gilles B.
So what commonly accepted, I think I would say response time within that 24 to 48 hours is important. If there's negative reviews that are left, always take it offline. Don't go into a battle. I'm sure you guys have seen that before, and it just looks bad for the business. There's going to be sometimes where the bad review may not even be relevant. It's hard to get reviews removed. Okay, I'll tell you that. Because again, Google, it wants to make sure that the consumer is getting as much of the information as possible. So there are some things that you can do if you can prove that they're not a consumer of your business or that it's defamatory. Like some of those things you can, submit to Google and they'll remove it. But in terms of any other negative response, just apologize and let's ask to take it offline. Can you please contact us? We'd love to work through this and earn your business back. But in positive reviews, that's easy. That's fun, right? Thank you so much. We're excited that you had a great experience. We can't wait to see you again.
That's great. Okay, question about retargeting. Can this be integrated across social media platforms?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some, again, free tools that Facebook provides when you run ad campaigns. There's a thing that they call Pixel, and it's basically just some code that you can put onto your website. And if someone clicks on one of those ads on their feed and it takes them to your website, that'll pick it up. Like those cookies that you guys are seeing as like accepting, yes, I accept that you're going to track me. That's essentially what's happening. So yes, there's some free tools. You just got to be able to input that code into the back end of your website. And then you'll have a ton of analytics that you can use to retarget people, grow the audience, target new people. I mean, the possibilities are close to endless with that.
Okay, we'll just do a couple more and then let you keep going because I know you have more content to share with us. And this could go, some of these guys we're probably gonna have to take offline. I do see some pretty specific questions and they're really good. They're just more like specific to your industries, which is great. But speaking of specific industries, here's kind of a more general question about that. Can you help organizations, and this one's from Joe M as in Mike. Joe says, can you help companies, organizations find clients in a very niche market if they have very targeted, specific types of clients? Great question, Joe.
Yep, that's one of our favorite things to do, in fact, because the audience is a little smaller and because there's so many targeting capabilities out there. Yes, there's tons of tools. There's tons of things that we can do. It starts with just having the conversation about who that target market is. Now, again, don't expect millions of people, right? If it's a very niche market, but it's definitely somebody that, or, a group of people that would be more likely to do business with you, right? If you're targeting them. So yes, absolutely, we can.
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining like yacht owners who bought new windows in 2017 or something. Like, these random little targets that you're like, how do you find these people?
Yep.
So great question. All right, so let's hear a little bit more about what you guys are offering here, and we'll get right back to your questions. Great questions, audience. Thank you so much for participating.
Sure. Yeah, I think lastly, I mean, we're close to being completed with the content. I didn't want to overwhelm too much, but lastly, what I would say back to, not only just the solutions we provide, but when you're thinking about what to do with your business, start with the foundation. Okay, so there's a lot of different analogies. You could say, it's like building a house. You've got to start with the foundation, which would be considered a website. And then putting up the walls of the house would be more of your search engine optimization. It's necessary for the website to get traffic. Then you got to put a roof on it, right? And then you've got to make sure that the lights turn on and all of those things where, that's where maybe paid media comes into play, display ads, more social aspect. But at the end of the day, you need to meet your customers wherever and whenever they're shopping. And having that in a variety of ways really can ensure that your business is set up for success. So I think, Sonia, with that, we are ready to do the giveaway, if that's all right. Unless Laura, Ryan, you've got...
No, let's ask some more questions and get the basket a little more full here. So great question from Fatin M. As in Mike. Fatin asks, with cybersecurity being a hot concern, do you guys have solutions that are compatible with security restrictions in Europe and other countries? I know there's like tagging and data concerns with GDPR. Is that something that Vivial could help customers with?
So we are US based. And so because of every country is a little bit different. There are different security measures in place. Right now, we are solely US based. We have a couple things that we can help with in Canada with search engine optimization efforts. But yes, it's hard to accommodate all the countries. So that's why we're US based at this point.
Okay, fair. Next question is from Cal H as in hotel. Getting a negative comment on social media about your business, how do you address it? How do you address it? Yeah. Good question, Cal.
Yep, definitely address it it may be a little salt in the wound, but you might want to apologize and say, I'm sorry to hear about the experience that you've had. But if you could reach out to us and give them maybe a specific phone number or email that they could reach out to maybe management, and then you can resolve it hopefully from there. The last thing you want to do is get into a quote unquote pissing match right online, because then that is there forever for whoever to see. So definitely apologize and then offer to take it offline and hopefully find a resolution from there.
Okay. And then next question is, how often should I be updating my Google My Business profile?
Ooh, great question. So we do have some reports that we can run for you to give you some of those industry benchmarks. But when it comes to content, so content can be an offer or an event or even just a new review. But Google tells us that about every 7 days is best practice for updating content. Photos, you can wait a few months before you update photos. Reviews are going to be a couple months. So they like to see new reviews and responses to reviews within 60 or so days. So each part of that Google My Business has a little bit different of a benchmark. But if you're uploading, like I said, an article or an offer, an event every 7 days, and they'll actually remove it. That was a change recently. So they'll actually remove it because they think that it's old. So you'll want to stay on top of that.
Great question. This one is from Jeff C. Jeff asks, what is the best approach for businesses who are traditionally quite conservative and a bit social media adverse? And this is an industry specific one, but I can imagine this for a lot of other industries who maybe aren't so customer facing. This one is specifically for healthcare and medical providers who are not really patient facing. Is there a more mellow approach to social media presence? Great question.
Yep, great question. I'll answer it in a couple different ways. So when it comes to social, you can just post and be pretty generic. You can post, just a few times a month. That's kind of the bare minimum that we would say is you want to be active to showcase that you're still in business and that, you're still open. But I'd take probably a slightly different approach and go towards search engine optimization. For businesses like that, it's important that you've got a strong presence on Google. We can do paid ads on Google, which is more of a quicker fix, short-term solution, whereas search engine optimization is really a long-term solution. So it builds a relationship with Google and your website. And it's because you want whoever is the consumer of your business, whether it's another business, right, B2B, they're still doing shopping and they're still doing research and trying to figure out who makes the most sense for them. And SEO would be a great way for your business to be showcased. And it's not a real aggressive approach to marketing.
Right. That's a great one. And I'm thinking of all the directory optimization services that you guys do to just make sure that not even just from a social standpoint, but also just from like not confusing the patient. Right. So that they're not seeing different phone numbers. And if the patient's confused, then Google's confused. And then, then you've got, pandemonium. So you want to make sure that everything, and that's one of the cool things that I think you guys are going to be giving some of the businesses today who joined is a report that like shows them, the online, I don't know, what's the report? It's like shows them so they can see how the customer would see them, kind of like an outside looking in.
Yep. Yeah. So that's our directory report. So we call it a directory optimization or an SEO report. So we would plug in your business name, address, and phone number, and then it spits out a report that shows us what does that look like? What are consumers seeing? And to your point, Sonia, like that's what Google is seeing too. So it's twofold, and the importance of why that needs to be accurate and consistent everywhere.
Great questions. So earlier in the presentation, Erin, you shared some statistics, and one of them was that you had a really high customer satisfaction score. One of the questions was from William B, as in Bravo, and William was wondering how come it wasn't 100% satisfaction. Where did you lose? So I think high standards, William. I high five to you there. So, but in the industry, Erin, I'm sure you've seen various scores, and your competitors have these different scores. How do you guys stack up against them?
Great question. We are definitely one of the highest. One other stat I would share with you guys is that we've got a 98.5% retention rate. So no, it's not 100%. And of course that would be ideal, but it's also not realistic. Marketing efforts, can be fluid. So we expect people to take a break if they feel like they need it. We wouldn't recommend it, but that's, it happens. Some people, might have a not so positive experience, but I can tell you that we're all over those. If that is the case, we've got a whole team in place that, digs in and understands why, but 98.5% retention rate is pretty stellar. I can't say if any other marketing companies out there have that high of a retention rate. And it's just because we have got a big focus on it. Again, as I said before, we want to look at this as a partnership. We don't want it to be a set it and forget it and see you later and we'll talk to you in 6 months, because it's not realistic. Consumer behaviors change, your business changes day to day, month to month, year to year. So it's important that the marketing efforts mimic those changes in your business and consumer behavior.
Even seasonally, or things change from your target market. And goals. So that's really good. So next question is from Takuya N, as in November. Takuya's question is about compliance requirements. And do you work with organizations that have specific compliance requirements? One of them might even be HIPAA concerns that, from a marketing standpoint, aren't able to necessarily market directly to patients.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's important that we're engaged together. We're partnering together, because you're going to know that best. But as long as you're sharing that with us, then we will absolutely, fall in suit with those compliance regulations. Also, before we publish things online, before we write content, you guys get to see that. So we wouldn't want it to go out without your approval. So it's, and you'll have a dashboard, again, back to the transparency, you'll have insight into that. So we would hope that wouldn't happen because you're going to approve it ahead of time.
Okay, great. All right, so we have a question. It's not in the question box. I'm trying to read it over in the chat box. Sorry. Okay, so this one is from Erwin B as in Bravo about a new company. They're just breaking into the marketplace, and Erwin was wondering how much money should be budgeted for a social media campaign to get a positive reaction and new customers right out of the gates. Great question. How do we decide what the budget is? And there was actually another question. I'll put that person's name in the hat as well. Okay. Their question was very similar. It's like, how do we set a budget? How is it $50 a month or $5,000 a month? And how do we come up with that number? And then how do you like kind of work backwards from there? What do you get for that?
Sure. So the Small Business Association says that you should spend 7 to 8% of your overall revenue on marketing efforts. So it's marketing efforts. It's not just social. When it comes to how much on social specifically, it'll go back to the industry and the consumers. We can help you with that. We can give you some suggestions. Some of our best campaigns though are starting or have a minimum spend on social of about $1,500 a month, but that is including everything. So that's, posting regularly 3 to 4 times a week. It's running an ad campaign. Within that 1,500, you're going to see about 500 or so of that go towards an ad campaign, because again, we have some very great targeting measures, or they want to get really aggressive. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a range. Always possible to start lower and build up to it, and that'll give you some time too to look at the results and decide how do you want to change as you go.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I think it's what it deters a lot of smaller businesses or businesses that just don't have, maybe they're a nonprofit who just don't have the kind of revenue that they're thinking they need. And I mean, I've been there trying to help customers, even just trying to help some of my own small businesses. And you get, oh, I'm sorry, we won't talk to you if you're not going to spend $5,000 or $10,000 a month in ad spend. And like, that's just way too much for an organization that their revenue doesn't,
Right.
equal out to that amount, or they're a nonprofit and they're, their donors are just, or their grants or whatever, just don't cover those types of things. So it's really interesting. And I think really commendable that you guys have these different plans for all different types of businesses. And I mean, I think that's really helpful. So, well, great. I think we have a lot more questions, but I think we're going to have to take some of them offline because we're coming to the end of our hour here. And we have this really fun giveaway. And so I just wanted to give you guys just a few more seconds to wrap things up, and then we'll draw from our hat over here.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. We hope that you guys have gained some additional knowledge on how to keep your business going and more successful, hopefully implement some new things that you may not already be doing. I would just urge you, if there's anything here that you've got more questions about or you want to learn more, reach out to your advisor who brought you today, and we'll be sure to connect and run those reports and have a call with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to see a lot of the organizations on here today take action on it, just at least reviewing these reports. At the very minimum, it's good to know what's out there for your organization, for your business. So thank you. Thanks to Laura. I've been working with you directly, working with lots of different organizations and helping meet their needs. So really appreciate all your support. And thank you, Ryan, too, for your help too. Got to meet you a few times as well.
Thanks.
All right, great. All right, let's do it. Let's just. Jeff C, as in Charlie, Jeff. So congratulations on your
solo
stove here. So just reach out to me with the best mailing address, and Erin and Laura and Ryan will make sure that gets sent out to you right away. And thank you guys so much. Awesome job. And come back in 2 weeks. We will see you again very soon, and stay safe. And Good luck with all your online marketing, guys. I know it's a lot of work, but it really does pay off. And thank you for taking the time to, look into Vivial. Like, Erin said, reach out to your advisor who invited you today, or reach out to me. I'm happy to connect you. If you don't know who invited you, we will get you set up with an advisor or one of our partners. We have over 250 advisors and partners spread out throughout the United States. So we'll find somebody that can help you. So we really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your work week. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.